Hello guys, welcome back to another live session of Carnivore Team GB with myself, Ben Hunt, Coach Stephen and Phil. We're going to be talking today on how to fix sleep on a carnivore diet. Please get your questions in sooner rather than later to avoid disappointment. We're already about 3 or 4 questions in. We've only just started a second ago. Anyway, this is session number 25 now, so we've been going for quite a few months at this point, which is great to hear. We're imminently approaching the Public Health Collaboration UK's seminar on, I think, 17th to 19th or whatever it is of May. So hopefully we'll be able to see you there. Me and Stephen and Richard will all be there, I believe. So feel free to join that if you haven't yet already. Otherwise, there's more in the pipeline from Ben and Phil, but that'll be announced in coming weeks and months' time. Anyway, so to kick off the talk today to do with sleep hygiene and how to fix sleep on the carnivore diet, I'm going to open up the panel and to see who hits the buzzer first and who wants to talk about their experience on the carnivore diet. Perhaps talk about anything that's impacted sleep, anything that's helped it, made it worse since you've started.
Well, I'll jump in. I don't know if I'm going to have an awful lot to add on this session, but the biggest thing for me, one of the biggest changes I've made health-wise, is giving up drinking alcohol specifically, not drinking anything. Giving up alcohol. You don't get as good a quality of sleep. That is absolutely known. And what I was doing, so for like 10 years, I was in the habit, I would drink quite heavily every night, like the equivalent of like 6 pints of beer, something like that, a bottle of wine kind of thing, or more of a night. And that's every night of the week, more or less. And it would, we're not specifically talking about alcohol, but I'm one of these people where you start drinking, you'll keep drinking until you've drunk all the drink. Whereas my wife, Sally, she would get tired after she'd have a few drinks and then she'd fall asleep, and that was it. But it kept me awake. And so I could be up until 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning if there was still drink to drink. And then in the morning, because the quality of sleep was poor, I'd be definitely on a deficit. So then I'd hit the coffee. And then I'd be racing through the day, and then I'd come to the end of the day and I'd want to stop racing, and I'd need to, the airbag that the alcohol offered as well. So do not underestimate the negative influence of alcohol on sleep, is my point. Don't know if anyone else can corroborate that, but that's definitely a big one for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The quality of sleep is nowhere near so good. Even if you sleep for the same amount of time, there's always something. If I do drink anything, I feel that I need a nap the next day, even if I've had what appears to be a good night's sleep. I'll sort of crash at some point, and not having the safety net of coffee myself, because I don't really like it. I don't have a drug to counteract that. So yeah, but I mean, with sleep, for me, it's really all been about, well, not all, but a lot of it's been about light, and just getting out in the morning to get the melatonin production kicked off, so that you have some to release at night when you turn all the lights off, or have little red bulbs or whatever, or blue blockers. And also something I have noticed, and only just recently actually, is that I've been using one of the what are they called? What are blue blocks called now? Bon Charge. They're one of their sleep masks that doesn't squash your eyes. It's got kind of a donut around here, and I wear that every night now, even if it's not appreciably light in the room. And that's made a huge difference. So absolutely pitch black in the eyes has made a real difference to sleep. And I kind of cottoned onto that at our War on Health conference in January, when Sarah Pugh had said that she was wrestling a wardrobe in front of the door just to keep tiny bits of light out in her room.
Checking out those bathrobes and those towels, getting them every little light socket, every little green light LED light that comes off the the plug sockets and that. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Ben and I were joking about setting off the fire alarm or something, sort of half an hour after she'd gone to bed, to get her out of there. but yeah, it's that really helped. But I did it's on my YouTube channel, like a 15-minute how to 10 top tips for sleep, linking to a blog post I did. Well, I think another 23 points or whatever. But some of the things that have really helped me, I noticed it, first of all, it must have been about 2011, 2012, when I'd just come out of that last veganism phase, and I was into keto for the first time. And I really started looking at Jack Cruse's stuff. And he was on about, blue blockers, cold thermogenesis, that kind of thing. And one night, I've told this story before, so forgive me if anybody's heard it. But one night I decided, right, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to wear blue blockers when I go to bed. But before that, I'm going to have a cold bath. And I had a really cold bath, and I was really skinny and emaciated at the time. So I didn't have much insulation. I probably stayed in there a little bit too long, and I was really shivering. And so I thought, well, I've not been sleeping well anyway, with the pain of the psoriatic arthritis, but it calmed that down anyway, the cold bath, but I was really cold and shivering. So I thought, well, I can't sleep in the same bed as my missus because I'm just going to be shivering all the time. My son at the time was away at university. And so I went and slept in his room, or at least I lay down shivering, thinking I'm never going to sleep. I'd worn the blue blockers in the evening as well. And I did fall asleep, and I woke up 10 hours later in exactly the same position. It was the first really amazing night's sleep that I'd had for 2 years. And that really set me off down that path that I feel that the cold thermogenesis in the evening certainly did help. But I think the main thing was the first evening that I had where I really wasn't seeing any blue light. So for me, I think the light is key, really. Anyone else?
Well, I think you wanted stories of your sleep, didn't you? Personal stories. So I agree with both what Phil and Ben have just said, obviously. I just didn't buy into the narrative of 8 hours sleep is what you need. I think it is about quality rather than quantity. Because when I was high carb, I could sleep for 10 hours and wake up and be absolutely wrecked and think things were bad, and also wake up starving, which of course is all down to high levels of insulin. Whereas on carnivore, I can be up at, before 6 o'clock quite easily, 6 o'clock in the morning, obviously, and be in the gym by 6:30 with no problems whatsoever. But I might have gone to bed, midnight, 11:30. So I'm operating on 6.5 hours, working out fasted. So I think this way of eating does give you more energy, which oddly seems to mean that you have better quality of sleep. So you need less quantity, which does seem sort of counterintuitive to people, because if you're living in a high carb world, and I'm going to bore people with, if you look at bloods in the context of somebody eating 60% carbohydrates, all the numbers are out. Well, if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, none of this will make any sense because you haven't got the right amount of energy and you haven't got the right nutrients. So you end up not sleeping very well, or having fitful sleep, or urinating in the night, because obviously you get the water retention from all that glucose. I'm 60 this month, and I said to Jane only this morning, wow, it's really great to sleep all night and not get up for a pee. I mean, it wasn't because we were going to talk about sleep today, but that's what it's like. Even after 5 years of doing carnivore, it still amazes me, because I had 50 years where I wasn't. So, even 5 years of it, you still think, wow, I really bought into all the BS. I really thought I needed at least 8 hours sleep. And, I think people, this is a bad joke, but you shouldn't lose sleep over losing some sleep. Because if you're sleeping for 6 hours and you feel great and you've got plenty of energy, don't worry about the fact you haven't had 8 hours. That's just an arbitrary number that's been plucked out of the air, like many things in the last 3 or 4 years. And you sleep what you need. And I think there's circadian rhythms, as Phil knows, the rabbit hole that he's put me down with Jack Cruz is unbelievable. But this thing about light is so obvious, because if you wanted to teach a child who's never been in the world before what's daytime, what's nighttime, what's midday, the easiest way to teach them would be to take them outside and go, right, okay, this is the morning. You know, it's the morning. Look, there's the sun going up. Now, this, I'm being very patronizing here, but this is the truth. And then, you know, there's the sun overhead. That's midday. There it is setting. Now it's dark and it's nighttime. But your body's mechanism works out and understands it. And that's what happens. You know, so if you're in touch with nature and light and darkness, your body's clocks will synchronize. Now, if you're not doing that and your bedroom is full of light, you're messing that up. It's just really simple. And I love what Phil said about the masks, because I can remember years ago when I was doing a completely different job at the Edinburgh Festival, and we all shared digs. One of the guys there put the black mask on to sleep, and he said to me, he said, I knew you'd take the piss out of it. So that's what I was like. Now I realise that I was the clueless one. I had no clue. He had the best sleep, by the way. That, you know, and it's just, we do need to take it more seriously. And for those that are thinking, well, all this light stuff's a bit woo-woo, it isn't. It's actually really obvious and fundamental. So, yeah, I think if you're looking to sleep well, eating right is a big part of it, but also getting your environment right. And again, that's really obvious, isn't it? Making your bedroom dark, the right temperature, getting up when you should be, because that's the whole point of a day, you know, working in the daylight. So, yeah. So my experience is I need less quantity, but I have much better quality.
Yeah, you know, I think Stephen, you're spot on there with not worrying as well about sleep, because this can vary. But something else that I've found that I think is really important is that people think of 8 hours sleep, but they think of that as a constant. Now, I've noticed over the years that we actually have cycles of sleep. You know, it's usually between about 1 hour 20, 1 hour 40. Mine is 1 hour 20, and almost bang on. Like if I have a nap in the middle of the day, sometimes say, you know, if I've got a gig at night and I want to catch up on some sleep or whatever, and not feel so tired when I'm there, I'll have a nap in the day, or if I haven't had such a great night's sleep. And if I don't get disturbed, it's always, I can just pick up my phone and check, and I know it's going to be 1 hour 20 after I fell asleep, almost to the minute, every single time. And so we have these cycles of sleep. And I feel that the 8 hour thing sort of came, you know, if you take 1.5 hours, it's like 7.5 hours of sleep is like 5 cycles of sleep. And so when you wake up in the night, a lot of people really panic and they're going, oh, I need to get sleep. I need to get sleep. I never do that. You know, I'll get up, I'll put some blue blockers on. I might watch a film. I might turn my phone on and have a podcast that I've already downloaded, you know, bearing in mind my phone will be on airplane mode and red screen. And I'll listen to a podcast, set it on 15 minutes. And then if I haven't fallen asleep in that 15 minutes, I'll set it for another. And eventually I'll fall asleep. I listen to quite a lot of podcasts at night. I'll wake up like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'll be awake till about 4 or half past, and then have another hour and a half. And I always know it's going to be an hour and a half. So if you can get 5 of those cycles, this is biphasic sleep, isn't it? You know, the tribes have done it. All sorts of civilizations have done it and whatever. You know, they'll wake up in the middle of the night. They'll get around the fire, tell stories, make love, whatever they do. And then they'll go back to sleep again. And it doesn't matter if you're awake in the night. The thing that's going to keep you awake is panicking. Oh, my God, I haven't had enough sleep. But if you start to think about it in cycles instead of just 8 hours, then it makes a bit more sense that way. That's what I've found useful anyway.
Yeah, interesting. All good takes, really. I won't add anything towards what you guys have said. I'll just rehash. I agree with everything you guys have said. For me, it's been revolutionary, the carnivore diet in terms of sleep. As an autistic individual, I always mention this because there's going to be someone in the audience who doesn't realise I'm autistic and it could relate to them. So I'm speaking on behalf of you guys here. But you'll find your sleep will go down in terms of duration quite a bit. What I've typically seen with clients is assuming they're transitioning, they were keto or were mixed diet beforehand, it's about an hour to an hour and a half less sleep they're getting. They notice no training performance dips, nothing abnormal, no mood swings, no digestion issues, no dry skin, no unusual lowered libido, nothing like that. Nothing has changed. It's just they're sleeping more efficiently. For myself, I sleep about, right now, maybe 3 or 4 hours if I'm lucky, which is forced, which is with medical cannabis, which I'm legally prescribed, and also with magnesium at night with a liquid zinc supplement, which I find somewhat helpful. For me, if I don't sleep, I'm not a pleasant person, hard to deal with. It makes my life a living hell. My quality of life goes down to about 1 if I don't sleep well. So I can't basically have a night without sleep, basically, ever. What we'll say is I'm a bit more, I can be a bit more motivated as well, in that I don't get up in the morning and sort of get up late, 8, 9 o'clock if I've not slept much. I get up when the light is up, because I realise I can't gain back that sleep just by sleeping in the middle of the day. Some people can do it, I personally can't. So I'm better off just resetting my day back to square one. So doing the same, going outside, light exposure kind of thing, first thing in the morning, opening the curtains, pitch black curtains, things like that, blackout curtains. Getting out twice during the day minimum in the sun. I was out in the sun today for about 3 hours, grounding as well, so getting some proper sunlight. That's when you build up your melatonin in your body. You get the biggest surge of melatonin in your body, actually, believe it or not, in the morning. That's when you build it up. Then you release it at night. So that's the way the sleep cycle kind of works. The way I look at it is, for me, the carnivore diet is first in biohacks, or essential life hacks. The second would be the sleep side of it, or the light side of it, I guess you could say, is more important. And that's what I found the most helpful. The way I kind of see it is, light gives us timing, and food gives us information. So how would you get that food to work well, and vice versa? So really, if I was saying anything, they're probably 50-50 in terms of importance, but you can't do one without the other. And I consult with a lot of people that are going to bed late at night, 2 in the morning, wonder, oh, my digestion's not good, oh, I can't eat properly, oh, I'm still addicted to sugar, my dopamine's all over the shop. That's probably why. You can't neglect sleep. There's no way out of it. I do recommend melatonin supplementation to some people if they are shift workers. I do consult with a lot of shift workers. There's a way of storing up more in your body, but it's not an absolute hack in that you can't get back to square one and regain your health. Inevitably, something will crumble. So that's my brief summary on sleep. We've got a question here from Andy828, which is thoughts on taking magnesium for improved sleep. We'll go around the board again, so we'll just go to Ben, Phil, then Coach Stephen, and I'll give my short take on magnesium. So have you experimented before, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take magnesium citrate in water later on in the day. You've got to be a bit careful you don't put too much, and you put in half a teaspoon. You could find it's got an Epsom salts like effect. Can I say that I've noticed a mad difference? I don't know. I mean, I'm not very proud of my ability to sleep so much, but it has definitely got better this year. So yeah, I can't say I noticed a massive difference with that, but no.
Yeah, I've used it, and I think it can really help. Sometimes, just a little bit, as Ben says. Don't take too much, or you don't want to be pooing the bed or anything, because it definitely has that effect. But yeah, a little bit. I have noticed difference, not a massive difference, but sometimes, if I'm a bit wired or whatever at bedtime, I've taken it. I don't take it regularly for sure, but yeah, it can definitely help. Stephen?
Unmute. Yes. Well, I noticed you said magnesium citrate, but you could also look at magnesium glycinate, because the glycine is actually a neurotransmitter, which has a calming effect on the brain. So if it's not working for you, then you could look at the different type of magnesium. And also, you don't get the magnesium shit rate effect. So glycinate might be the answer, I think, there. I mean, magnesium is known to regulate neurotransmitters, so it is the best sort of supplement. Shame Richard isn't here, because he would be able to talk about it. And again, things like muscle relaxant properties. People with cramps, they take magnesium because it relaxes your muscles. So it also relaxes you when you're anxious. So if you're having trouble sleeping, there might be many reasons for that. Overtraining, for instance, you might be cramping. So magnesium does have a lot of benefits. And as none of us on this screen are selling supplements, it's not a sales pitch. It does work. And I think if Richard was here, he would be able to say, I've got some pretty good supplements you could look at. I'm not sure whether he agrees with me. People seem to think that all of us all agree on everything. And I think magnesium glycinate, it personally is the one I would go for because of its sort of multifaceted role as a neurotransmitter in its own right, the glycine. So that would be my take. And I will ask Richard actually the next time I speak to him, and he'll say, "No, that's rubbish, Stephen. Do the citrate." But anyway, that's my take on it. But I definitely think it's something worth trying if you're having problems with sleeping.
Just a really quick one before Jonathan jumps in. Epsom salt baths as well. You don't necessarily have to take it. An Epsom salt bath before bedtime, very nice.
Well, that is magnesium for people that don't know.
Yeah, it's a magnesium sulfate. It's a sulfuric magnesium. So you do have to use quite a bit. So you'll notice if you guys are looking to use magnesium salts, you're using a lot of it. It's not like a little capsule. It won't work, obviously, because the molecule of the sulfate, I can't pronounce it, is way too big. But yeah, magnesium bisglycinate is the best one for sleep. Also the most simulated, best digested, with the least amount of side effects. There's a few others. Magnesium taurate, perhaps useful after the gym, maybe. A few others, magnesium chloride. No one ever really takes that, to be honest. It's usually in cheap energy drinks or electrolyte powders. Usually magnesium citrate is a bit of a better option because you get more per milligram. Magnesium bisglycinate, again, like Coach Stephen said. Glycine is a precursor to a neurotransmitter called GABA. So people find that if you can get the magnesium glycinate, the glycine component of it up, it's quite helpful. The studies on glycine specifically are around about 3 grams. That's what they tend to say is quite helpful. So the capsules you're buying probably won't have enough in it to really make a big jump. Does the glycine to help you release more growth hormone, help sleep better, things like that. What else is there to say about magnesium? Doses could be anything.
Jonathan, any of you, any thoughts on L-threonate for sleep?
L-threonate, that one's used more for mood disorders. It passes the blood-brain barrier a bit quicker, a bit better. If someone's got depression, anxiety, but it's hard to say. Maybe they're anxious because they don't eat enough meat, in which case eat more meat, or have some taurine or magnesium taurate. So there's individual roles for amino acids. The only thing I'll say is you do pay significantly more when you start going to the upper echelon of molecules with magnesium. Magnesium itself is cheap as chips. It's what you buy it with. Magnesium citrate, chloride, quite cheap. Bisglycinate, a bit more expensive, but it's absorbed a bit better. You're less likely to crap it out. I would strongly advise people not to use magnesium oxide, because I've met a lot of people that have crapped that out, and this may surprise some of you. I've consulted with over 400 carnivores at this point, or keto carnivores, and I'll say most use magnesium supplements. So it's not uncommon to use them at all. It's more common than not. I'd say maybe 60%. They all tend to use either magnesium citrate or magnesium bisglycinate. They seem to notice a beneficial effect. If we look epidemiologically, if that's a real word, I think it is, I don't know. People tend to be low on magnesium because there's not much in the soil as well. So of all the supplements you could take, D3 probably, magnesium probably. The rest of it is hit or miss. Should we go into a little segment now about some maybe potential amino acids or herbs that might be useful for sleep? So it could be a good segue.
I was just going to say, I'm actually experimenting with Thorne's magnesium malate citrate mix, and the malate is the malic acid for the Krebs cycle.
The Krebs cycle, yeah,
and it's you know, I after 5 years, I'm still experimenting. So I can't say whether it's made a difference or not because I've only been doing it about a month. So I also practice what I preach because many people think, well, I've been doing this 2 weeks and there's no change. Your body takes a little while. And I can't say I've noticed any difference at all in anything. But Thorn, apparently, you know, it's a well-respected brand and it's a good mixture. So I'm going to give it a, you know, till the end of May to see if it makes any big difference. And this is where dose is very important because I've started with 1 tablet a day. It's not made a difference in the last 3 weeks. So I'm going to try 2 a day, just see what happens. And then if after the next 2 weeks, nothing happens there, I'm going to finish with the recommended maximum dose on there, which is 3, and just see what happens. So I think that the reason I'm saying that is because many people listen to our advice and think it's going to be magic and it's going to be instant, but it isn't. Your body is adaptive. It's an adaptive thing, and it just takes a while for all these things to work through, or conversely, for things that you've taken in the past to work out of your system. So if you are trying to improve sleep and you do, let's say you get magnesium glycinate, and 3 days later you're still not sleeping better, try not to flame us in the comments and just give it a little bit longer, because it will take a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, for sure. The molecule of some of these things that it's attached to is too big. Malate, for example, you're looking at 2 to 5 grams. So anyone that's wondering how big an average capsule is that you buy in the shop, 500-600 milligrams maybe. So if you're looking to get the malic acid side of it, the malate, you are going to be taking several capsules, by which point, unless you're a 100-pound 4-foot tall female, you're probably going to get nothing from it. So the clinical dose just isn't really there, but you may find some benefit. Some people are hyper responders to these sort of little things. One thing I've been using recently, just because while we're on the topic, I've been using ashwagandha and L-theanine. I've been using last thing at night before bed and straight after the gym. I've been using those supplements. They're quite helpful, and I'd say I do feel less edgy. I'm not eating much food, guys, so I do feel a bit edgy at times, you know, as anyone would. I'm basically starving myself for a bloody plastic trophy, which is nuts. But it seems to be helpful so far. And with all these things, all these recommendations, I say to people, add it in, do what Coach Stephen says, try it for 2, maybe 3 weeks, find the dose, find if anything works. If it doesn't, take it out, stop using it. Don't waste your money, spend your money on better quality food, take your friends out, take your family out, do something which you enjoy, because that's going to help you sleep better at night than spending fucking, excuse my language, sorry, 30 quid a month on supplements that probably don't work. So you'll know pretty quickly within a few weeks if these things do work, and it depends where you're coming from, your stage, your level of what amino acids, vitamins, minerals you've got low or deplete in your body at that period of time as well. So it's all hit and miss. These are all just random suggestions. Does anyone else have any kind of suggestions on sleep supplements at all? Just because while we're on this little niche topic here.
Yeah, I've got one I'll throw in, but this isn't one that I've tried myself, but I'm not discounting it. It's a friend, a carnivore friend, who's spent a lot of time living in Sweden with the Sami people in Sweden, and one of their traditional medicines is the Amanita muscaria mushroom, aka fly agaric, which is known as a kind of a psychedelic, but it's not anything like your normal magic mushrooms. But in small doses, apparently it's very good at helping you get off to sleep. But I won't give any further tips on how you might go about processing it, chopping it up, drying it out, making it into a powder, or putting it in hot water, because that would not be legal. So yes, but it's just hearsay. That's all I'll say.
All right, guys, we'll go to the next. The first question. Sorry, we're way behind it. But Joseph said, for years, due to an unexplainable loud, deep bass tone in my skull, and also vibratory feeling, I've been sleeping 0 to 4 hours a night. Only possible with 10 milligrams of melatonin. Hopeless. I asked Phil about this about a year ago, so I know Phil's got a take on it. What do you think it is, Phil?
I don't remember you asking me. The bass tone in the skull, you mean, or the melatonin question?
The bass tone in the skull.
Yeah, I don't know about a bass tone in the skull. Would this be sort of something equivalent to a sort of tinnitus type thing?
Yeah, there's this thing going on at the moment. It's meant to be a global phenomenon, where they think that there's some global humming going on, and loads of people report that they can hear it, but then other people report they can't hear it. You know how they say something and you think, oh, that's that word, and it turns out, oh no, it's actually a different word, like a Mandela effect. So it could be a bit like that.
Well, yeah, there's God, are we putting our tinfoil hats on now? Yeah. Well, I never take mine off, but yeah, there are some very weird things going on, and also just on a really basic level, a lot of these sort of weird sounds in the head and the ears can also be to do with EMF fields around you when you're sleeping, the phone left on. To be really sure, to turn the Wi-Fi off, turn your phone off, and turn the ring main off upstairs, and see if it's still there. I would rule that out to start with, because even I find that next to my bed I've got a plug socket with some extension leads coming out of it, and if I leave that on, if I forget to turn it off, I wake up with a sort of ringing in my ears. And then I know, I look down there, yep, it's switched on. I forgot to switch it off. I don't turn the whole ring main off upstairs. I would do if I didn't have all the kids up there doing stuff, and the missus having different bedtimes to me. Everybody has different bedtimes in my house. I'm in bed way before everybody. But yeah, I'd look at the EMF kind of thing to start with. They put up some 5G mast outside my house, and if I fall asleep in a room where the neighboring house is blocking that signal, I sleep better. There's one bedroom here where I sleep, and if I come home late at night after a gig or something like that, like a little spare bedroom, and it's kind of exposed to that through the window at an angle, and I don't sleep so well in that, and I do get a ringing in my ears. But if I sleep in the other bedroom, which is completely shielded by the other house, or if I fall asleep downstairs on the sofa, I don't get that ringing in the ears. So it could be not even just the phones or the Wi-Fi or whatever. It could be even some, horrible 5G mast that they put up near you. So I'd look at the EMF side of it and rule that out.
Yeah. Can I just echo that? Because both Jane and I, that's my wife, when we bought into the Apple Watch phenomena, she's very lean, incredibly lean and fit. And when she started wearing the Apple Watch, she started to get terrible headaches, noises, tinnitus, absolutely awful. I'm not as lean, and I didn't at first. But so she was getting noises in her head and headaches, and she took the Apple Watch off because we did a bit of research about the EMF, and completely went. And then, being good scientists, because we're both interested in physiology, after about 3 weeks of it not being there, she put the watch back on, and lo and behold, the noise came back on. And it's not placebo, because it just isn't. There's too many people that are saying this. And I started to realize that I was having problems, so I stopped the Apple Watch. And I mean, I was a really big fan. My first publicity photos on YouTube were me with my arms like this, so you could see my watch. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was cool. But I mean, as people may know, I'm really into all this sort of stuff because I am deaf. I wear hearing aids. So there's a few things that you could be surprised at generating that noise. I mean, it could be a form of migraine. So some people call it auditory aura, so it could be something like that. But also you can have muscular spasms around the palate and the TMJ, which can resonate because bone conduction is incredible. When you have a hearing test with a proper audiologist, they will do a tuning fork like that, put it to your ear, but they will also do it round your bone because sound resonates through the bone. There are even headphones nowadays you can buy that don't go in your ears, actually go onto the back of your ear, onto the bone. So you could be looking at some muscular problems on the TMJ. Or there's also eustachian tubes, which are like tubes which are involved in pressure. Now, if you're eating a lot of dairy, for instance, or you produce a bit of mucus, you can find that you can get a build up there, and that can actually resonate and create a sound in your ears. There's a few other things. I don't want to bore you too much because we talk about sleep, but the noise is stopping you sleeping by the sound of it. No pun intended on the sound thing. So there are other things to look at. If you've got a dentist who's got brains and is prepared to look at things out of his textbook, I would go back and say, is it possible that it's a muscular issue in my TMJ? Could you look at my eustachian tubes? Because I'm a little bit concerned about these noises. And a good dentist will look at it properly and rule those things out for you.
Yeah, good advice, solid advice. I can't add anything to that, but I'd look at further testing, more tests, more information, more data, probably.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd ask as well is does it only happen at home in one particular place, or does it also happen if you travel away? Because if it is at home, I was going to mention the bone conduction as well, that there's some kind of, vibration, some low physical vibration that's going on nearby that that is getting translated into sound. Yeah. Answers in the comments.
Nice one. Got a question from Zbigniew Wozenich. Gents, do you know any correlation between D3 level and sleep? Yes, there is a correlation between D3 level and sleep. How far you want us to get into this question, I don't know. I couldn't really say how far in the weeds we need to get. I mean, is there anything you guys want to say in particular about this topic?
Well, picking up on what Phil said, it regulates the sleep-wake cycle, and I love Phil's knowledge about the biphasic sleep. But vitamin D is one of the regulating features of that. So we're going back to circadian rhythms, so it definitely has an impact on that. And I suppose that makes sense because we're talking about sunlight interacting with your skin, and the cholesterol synthesis of vitamin D happens due to light. So maybe, there is a lot more to sleep and vitamin D than research is showing. We're in a world now where they want to block the sun out, which is about the world's worst thing you can do, because you would reduce the levels of vitamin D. And I think yes, it does a lot of other things like the hormones. It is part of the synthesis of neurotransmitters like serotonin, and dopamine. So we know that they are key factors in sleep. So yeah, there's a lot to do with sleep and vitamin D.
Excellent. We'll move on to the next question now. Well, speaking of, said hit the like button. Definitely hit the like button. And if you're on a phone, a laptop, a computer, whatever it is, I don't know, iPad, hit like on all of our channels. It works really well. Helps all of us. Anyway, I just wanted to make a quick announcement, actually, just because Lee did give me permission to mention this. So, for anyone that's wondering, Kent Carnivore, who is not Jordan Peterson, he is Lee Coppus. He's the guy just above Ben's head right now. Can't point because he's over there. That one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, so he's currently in hospital and he's doing fine. He's being well looked after. His pain has reduced a bit. He's on less morphine now. And the doctors, surgeons, people in his consultation team seem very confident about his outcomes, and he's doing well. So I just thought I'd announce that for anyone that's curious and wondering if he's still alive. He is still alive and he's well. And he's quite happy, but he is a bit annoyed because of circumstances, having had to wait 5 times to have surgery for something he needs is absurd. We won't get into that here because it'll be a talk for another day. Jay said, if I'm on the carnivore diet drinking purely with no added minerals or electrolytes, but using Celtic salt taste on my food, should I consider taking electrolyte supplements? My quick answer would be, if you're fine, don't take any. If there's a problem, try one at a time. If there's more of a problem, try all of them and buy Richard's Keto Pro electrolyte supplement, either flavoured or unflavoured. That's my very brief, succinct answer. Do you guys have a take of this one?
Spot on. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, if you're all right, it's fine.
All right, nice one. I was actually, I don't know if I was the one who started this, but I did say this about 2.5 years ago. I heard having butter before bed helps you sleep. Thoughts on this? I'm going through menopause and I heard that fat is good for sleep. Now, I actually found a study which was linked to cortisol suppression after training, because they did a protein and fat after training, after endurance training, whatever it was, measured cortisol in the blood. They did the same thing again with protein and carbs, and the protein and fat actually lowered cortisol to a better degree. Then I ran my own experiment because I wasn't sleeping well at the time. So I had, it must have been about 70 or 80 grams of butter before bed, which is quite a lot of butter. Nearly a whole stick for you American guys. And yeah, I did sleep better that night. So I did it again and again and again for about 3 weeks straight. And I did sleep better at night with some more butter or fat before bed. Also, there's probably some endothelial function benefit and colonocyte feeding benefit from the butyric acid within the butter, so that probably helps you sleep better anyway. Healthy gut, healthy mind, good sleep. Have you guys tried this at all? Have you heard this being used at all in circles?
Yep, it helps many people, but it is on a case-by-case basis, because for some people it doesn't work. I think also there's a little bit of an insulin bump, a tiny bit, which is just enough to get more neurotransmitters into the brain, because I think many people have tried the carbs before sleep and said that works, but they wake up hungry. And I've often told people, it isn't the carbs, it's the insulin that it's releasing is opening up the reception in the brain. Sorry, Phil, to keep you up. And it's, you know, insulin isn't a bad guy. You know, it regulates ever such a lot of things. And I just think that little bit of butter actually might just bump the insulin up a tiny amount, so you don't get the hunger the next morning, but you just get that little bit of insulin, tiny bit. I mean, it is a small response.
Yeah, good shout. Should we move to the next question, guys? You happy?
Yeah, I know that Richard says that he's one of these people that likes to go to bed not on an empty stomach. He eats relatively close to sleep, and it just goes to show, like Stephen says, you know, everyone's different. It's a case by case basis. There's none of these rules that applies to absolutely everyone. So figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, good shout. The next one's from Matthew, who's often on our live streams, and it's, could eating beef kidney every day potentially cause vitamin or mineral toxicity? Yes. The vitamin A is 10 times lower than beef liver, and copper is 23 times lower. B12 is something. Copper toxicity can cause restless sleep. Copper can give you heart palpitations, guys. That's one you can overdose on. That really can mess you up. I've tried that myself, just an experiment. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot. You can do it in one hit, and it can be done, even probably through a basic supplement. I mean, if it's food's in its natural form, I'd kind of be reluctant to say it's going to kill you straight away, but I'd go by appetite, if I'm honest, on this one. If you're eating it and you're thinking, I'm piling this down, but I don't enjoy it, it just tastes like metal, don't eat it. If you don't enjoy it, don't eat it. Don't force it down. This is probably what happened to Paul Saladino, but Stephen, do you have a take on beef kidney at all?
Yes, yeah, you're right about Paul Saladino as well. Yeah, I think you got it bang on. I mean, if you're eating it and you're enjoying it, and your taste buds are there for a reason, your factory senses and everything is there to sort of modulate what you're eating. I think it's going to be very difficult to get to vitamin A toxicity. I would question, why would you eat beef kidney every single day? Because is it that tasty? I don't know. But it's a good addition because of the selenium, which is good. So if you're looking at your thyroid health, I think it's something good to add because of the iron, the zinc, selenium. But I mean, I have it once a week, and I think that's fine. I think the vitamin A is good, the retinol, because it's a proper form of vitamin A. But I don't think you should eat many things daily, really. You know, have a bit of variety. But certainly kidney, I would look at that more as a side to have every so often.
What about you guys for the big fat challenge?
I don't know. I think, you know, this business of Paul Saladino, I definitely agree with that's what's happened. Probably Frank Tufano as well, along with blowing up his liver with Accutane. You know, I mean, it's had a vegan today telling me that he'd blown up his liver with Carnivore, and I think I think the Accutane is probably more to blame. But anyway, as far as toxicity, I've not heard of any toxicity from kidneys. I've heard of it from liver, but I've not known anybody to actually get it. You know, there are these stories, if you eat a polar bear liver, you'll die or something. But I think that's pretty difficult to find these days.
I think that's a myth. I think that's a myth. I was actually looking up what is the lethal dose of vitamin A recently, and I couldn't find any evidence to say that there is a lethal dose at all.
You know, there's opinions that go from, you know, if you have liver just once, then you're going to need this massive detox from these people that do these vitamin A detox Facebook groups and things, and they reckon it's just complete poison to eat any liver, all the way through to Zofia Clements from Paleo Medicina, who said, you know, I asked her about it, and she said, no, you can eat it all day, didn't she, Ben? I think when you were with me with her, and you know, I don't know. Just we've lost our intuition, haven't we? Does it smell good? Does it taste good? And then do you want it the next day? You probably don't. I crave liver sometimes, and then I can't eat it the next day. I don't want it. You know, I even see that. I've said this before, but I see it with my cat. You know, I'll give him liver. He likes it better than anything. You know, I'll be cooking liver and he's shouting at me. So I'll snip up some liver for him. And if I give him too much, even 2 little bits, he won't have it. You know, he's done when he's done. Give it to him the next day, won't touch it. My son's the same. You know, he's 8. Have a load of liver and then he won't eat it for months. He says it's disgusting. But then he'll ask for a second plate when he does eat it. So I think just listen to what your body says. And when you've got rid of all the carb addictions and whatever, and you're listening to the subtler signals, you'll know when you want liver. And if you don't want it, you don't want it. If you want it, you want it. And that's it. Yay.
He's alive.
Recognise that bloke.
Yeah.
He looks like the bloke up there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Separated at birth.
No, this is an AI. This is an AI bot version of Kent Carnivore. You can tell.
The illegitimate.
Yeah, I think Lee might appreciate that when Jonathan did that little announcement that said about 10 minutes ago, he said, oh, Lee's well and he's recovering and all that. I was trying to stop my inner Alan Partridge coming to life because I wanted to go, unless he's mysteriously died in the last minute or something like that. So, but I didn't say that because I thought, what if he had? But anyway, he's now live. That's brilliant. Well done, Lee.
Nice one. Yeah, but see about the vitamin A thing, it's the predatorial carnivorous animals that can potentially have too much vitamin A in them. It's not good to have too much of anything. I mean, you'll know as soon as you eat it if you don't feel right for a week and you're like, oh, I don't want to eat anything at all, then your body's probably told you the right thing. We'll get to the next question, which is from Tom, which is about B vitamins before sleep. Don't do this, guys. Don't take B vitamins before sleep. I don't care who you are. I don't care who did it. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Most vitamins should be taken in the morning. Vitamin D with fat, ideally around the time you get the most sunlight naturally, which would be around midday. I usually say to people between 10 and 12 in the morning. B vitamins always in the morning. Some amino acids at night, like we've mentioned, glycine, taurine, maybe before bed. That's my take on it. I'm quite abrupt about this just because I've met a lot of people who have messed up their sleep so bad because they take B vitamins and B12 and drink bloody caffeine-free Red Bulls or whatever at 7 at night. I wonder why they can't sleep. It's because they got B vitamins, guys. Don't take them before bed. Do you guys have a different take at all?
Well, I think he's asking about the vivid dreams, but yeah, I don't recommend taking B vitamins before you sleep. Whether it makes more vivid dreams, I don't know. Why would you want that, Tom? I'm just interested in that. Strange enough, I would say my dreams are more vivid. I don't take anything, but they're so spooky. As soon as I wake up, I write them down sometimes because I always want to try and analyze them afterwards. So I don't think you need to take B vitamins for very vivid dreams. I wish my wife was here because she would say, yeah, these dreams that's coming out of this brain when I'm asleep are unbelievably vivid and very strange, in a good way, very detailed. but I don't take anything for that. I think, Tom, just keep eating this way, and once your quality of sleep improves, quality, not quantity, I think your dreaming will be where you want it to be. But I also recommend, if you're interested in dreams and why you dream, to have a notepad and a pen as soon as you wake up to write it down, because they do dissipate very quickly. And then it's really frustrating because half an hour later you say, oh, this amazing dream last night. I have no clue what it is, but it was amazing, you know. So I think it's fascinating. Actually, it's a subject that I really have got into, but I'm not going to bore you because there's like 8 minutes left.
If you want more vivid dreams as well, there is a folk herbal remedy as well, which is the flowers of the mugwort plant. You see it growing all over, certainly in this country, in the late summer, and it has these kind of grey white flowers on it, about so high, and you can smoke the flowers, dry them and smoke them, or you can just make them into a tea as well, but should not be combined with cannabis. There you go.
Interesting. That's something you every day.
Yeah, or just, some acid before bedtime. That's the sort of thing.
This is not medical advice.
Yeah, a couple of blotters of LSD. Yeah, that'll sort you out. A few mushrooms. No, you won't be sleeping, but the dreams will be there anyway.
Yeah, the dreams. Does taurine help with sleep? Yeah, I mention this every week on my YouTube live stream. Easily. Yeah, I know it does. Anything that aids detoxification pathways will definitely help you sleep, because you're taking the inflammatory overburden from your body, because you're giving it exactly what it needs. This is especially true if you're somewhat deficient in taurine. This contrasts what everyone says. Everyone I speak to is like, oh, you don't need to supplement with it because you can get it from meat. You can, but most people nuke their meat to death and they lose a lot of the taurine that's in it. Some people might need more taurine. People do get tested and need more taurine in their body. So obviously there is some deficiency issue with there. Some animals cannot survive without taurine. For example, cats. From Pottinger's cat studies that we know. In terms of my recommendation for taurine, there are 2 contraindications which I know of. One of them is if you're using, I believe it's bipolar, if that's the right terminology. I think they've changed the name for it now. If you're on bipolar medication, such as lithium, or if you're on blood pressure medication, you've got to be a bit careful, monitor it carefully, do so with a doctor's supervision. Otherwise, I'm typically recommending somewhere between 2 and 10 grams total per day of taurine, which is a sulfonic acid found in meat. Generally speaking, it depends what the issue is. It can help with digestion, it can help with training endurance, and it can help with sleep. For me, it definitely helps with training endurance, and it definitely helps with sleep. You have to find the dose for yourself, but you're looking at somewhere between 2 and 10 grams per day, probably split up if you're using it at 10 grams per day. I found about half of my clients find it helpful. If it's placebo and it's working, then I say carry on taking it. To be honest, it's not harmful unless you've got one of those medical issues. But have you guys tried this at all? Have you looked at it? Have you researched it at all? Or?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with the lowering blood pressure medication, which I think if you've got some joined up thinking out there, when you take taurine, if you're speaking to a doctor and you're on low blood pressure lowering medication, they will say, oh, be careful with that taurine. Well, the reason for that is because they know it lowers your blood pressure. So eat more meat because that's got taurine in, and it will help with your blood pressure. So you get a doctor accidentally telling you that taurine works to lower your blood pressure. It's one of the things I think is pretty cool about it. And it does interact with melatonin, and that there are studies for that. So it actually enhances the action of melatonin. So you've got this great thing that lowers your blood pressure and also enhances melatonin. So what would be sort of an upshot of that? Well, you're probably going to sleep better. So, but I know what Jonathan said about taurine, additional amounts of taurine, but it is also in food. So make sure you're eating plenty of red meat or animal proteins, and then dial into Jonathan's programs to make sure you get the right amount of supplementation as well. I think it's a very underestimated amino acid. I know we talk about sleep, but it will help your stomach acid and your bile production, stomach emptying. It's a real good signaling molecule that does ever such a lot.
I wanted to mention as well, I missed something. It's found in the highest concentration in fish. I know I spoke with Ben and Phil about this many months ago in the private group calls. The reason is fish need more antioxidants in their muscle tissues because they're constantly moving and they cannot stop for shit. They can't sit still. So they need more antioxidants within their body, and taurine does act as an antioxidant, especially true for reducing instances of left ventricular hypertrophy. So a lot of people I work with are obviously going to be body composition, bodybuilding, fat loss, muscle building, training people. So there is a massive training performance benefit to be had if someone is a bit low on it. I've honestly really found it, and it's so cheap. I don't know why I'm not affiliated with these companies, but yeah, honestly, it's such a cheap product. You might as well use it. Try it. If you've got any of the issues that Coach Stephen just mentioned, try it out. Buy a 100-gram sachet of it. Try it for a month. See what happens. Yeah, that's my take. Have you guys looked at any of these sort of things at all, Ben and Phil?
No further questions, Your Honour.
Okay, never mind. Right, I've got Ben. Do you want to pick the last question? We're a bit lackluster here, aren't we?
Well, we've got 3 more questions, but none of them seem to be about sleep. So
no.
Why don't we? Any final tips? One really easy one, guys. Leave the damn phone out of your bedroom. It's one of the easiest things in the world, right? Because if you ever find yourself going, I'm tossing and turning, and I think, I will just check Facebook or play a game of whatever on my phone. Just don't. If you leave the stupid thing downstairs, plugged in or whatever, charging, you don't need it. Right, get an old-fashioned alarm clock with bells on if you want. But honestly, that is for me particular, the #1 biggest health hack, sleep hack.
Yeah, all of us here are so big on sleep because it's funny if we ever message one another in the morning, I'll be up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and the other guys will be up at 6, 7 o'clock as well. We're all up early because the sun is coming up early. We're in tune with what's going on around us. So right now, obviously got 2 big lights in front of me so you can actually see me, but it's not quite dark outside yet. I don't need blue blocking light glasses on because it's still light out. Now, I know Phil's just the same. If we recorded this 4 months earlier, Phil and I'll be both wearing our blue blocking glasses and that'd be normal. But because the day's longer now, we don't need to wear them, so it's less impactful. On the same token, good sleep hygiene, wear a mask, I don't know, wear one of those ones, guys, not one of those ones, definitely not. Blackout curtains. If you've got like these annoying green or like blue lights where you got a plug socket, put tape over it, put some blue tack over it, do something. Those are sort of the little micro things which do make a difference. And imagine doing that for a year. You're limiting, say, 1% of your sleep every day for a year. That's a massive percentage, guys. So you don't want to be leaving anything on the table. With my work, a lot of what I teach people is sleep hygiene. It's pretty much on everyone's thing. These are non-negotiable things you must stick by if you're going to be in my coaching roster. If you don't do them, you won't get as good results, and it's a massive thing to leave on the table. Do either of you guys, perhaps Stephen or Phil, have any sort of little cues or biohacks you might use to sleep better, or just overall like little things we might have missed throughout this talk?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things. There's old sort of little remedies like chamomile tea before bed that I wouldn't really recommend on Carnivore, but it can help. People do that when they're drinking tea and stuff like that. There's a few little hacks, but sex before sleeping is excellent. Do that. Have sex with yourself if you haven't got anybody else. Just whatever you do, but it is that was one of my tips. I'm trying to remember them all, but I do have If you look on my channel and put 10 top tips for better sleep, then I link to a blog post underneath where I have a whole load of ideas down there.
What about exercising near to bedtime? Because that
a little bit. I think you can do too much. I find, there's a lot of. I'm sure Jonathan's got a hell of a lot on this, and Stephen. But for me, a little bit, is kind of nice. Like a little bit of bouncing on a rebound, a little bit of yoga, something like that is nice. Going down to the gym and doing heavy 20 rep squats at 10 at night. No. What do you think, guys?
Well, I would just do I would go back to basics and get your light right. Make sure it's dark when it's dark and light, and be up and about when it's light. I mean, I genuinely think that's the key to it, to get your light right. And yeah, remove all those things like your phones and iPads and all that. Just get the bedroom completely free of the Wi-Fi devices. And make it what it should be, somewhere to relax, get away from EMF, get away from the light, and really relax and just enjoy yourself. And I think sex before bed is great, but it's also great when you get up or in the middle of the day or the afternoon. But that's when you're carnivore, that's all you want to do. But anyway, we'll talk about that another day. We'll talk about that another day, maybe.
Yeah.
That's true. I think the kids have cottoned on to what happens as soon as they get to school in the morning.
Yeah. The exercise before bed thing is a Jack Cruz thing. I've did a lot of digging around that, and I couldn't find any evidence to support the claim that it was helpful. At least in terms of like going to the gym and doing a 20 rep set of squats, forget it. Your heart rate's too high. Your body has to calm itself down. It's pro-inflammatory. Your body's then got to spend that time getting back to baseline. Then you're sweaty as hell. You smell bad. Your partner doesn't want to have sex with you. Probably not a good idea. Bit of a light walk, bit of rebounding, walk the dog. I'll get behind that. Being out in nature, yeah, I think it's pretty good. Nothing too extreme. Something you can actually achieve. We'll leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for joining tonight. Just so you guys are wondering who we all are, we are on the screens. Our names are on the screens. You can find us all at our respective YouTube channels. Both Ben and Phil represent the bigfatchallenge.com. Coach Stephen, you can find him at his website at theukcarnivore.com. He offers ebooks, coaching consults, different services, blood test reading, all that sort of stuff. Me, you can find at compositionconsultant.com, where you can find a few ebooks, a few training diet plans, consults as well, coaching, all the same sort of thing. Same with Phil, you can find him at, I think it's pureactivity.net. And also get hold of Ben through different social media avenues to see what he offers as well. Thank you very much for joining, guys, and we'll see you next week when we're going to be talking about ...